Hi, Sharon.
Hey,
Look,
David.
looks like we're
How
live
are
here
you?
on Facebook, and
Are we?
I'm really excited about the story you were sharing with me earlier. And I think we got a few friends that need to hear that amazing pet story. So,
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you for asking me to come and share this with you. And anyone else that has their fur babies.
yeah.
So essentially my
And you know
journey.
what? You're going to tell your story, and then I've got a story for you about what's happened with this new rescue that we have here who's trying to kiss me right now. So
And
we're
that's what
going to
you
do
were
both
saying.
stories.
Yeah. So so essentially we started with um a a supplement, and it's an antigen infused supplement, and you actually understand the science behind that probably a little bit better than I do. But in February of last year, my dog was completely unresponsive. My dog Peaches, Chow Chow, she was like really unresponsive to anything. No walks, no food, no loves, really, no water, no puppy crack, which is dentist sticks in our house, and and so I had just literally started with our company, and I didn't know anything about any of the additional stuff that we had past the whitening toothpaste that I liked and it worked. And, so I took a little closer look at the business in that regard. But when, uh, when I was going to miss a meeting because my dog wasn't well, and my spouse, who had been home with a car accident for about 4 years at that point, and
Right?
we're aware of the recovery like you had with it, and he's had it the same. Um, since then, he knew this dog inside and out, right? So he says, like, please don't go to your meetings and stuff this week. Just come home, be with her, because really, realistically, we're probably going to put her down at the end of the week. And so when I told Julie, who I work really closely with, when I told her I wasn't going to make the meeting, she said, could you just come to the house and pick something up? And I was like, okay. So I'd heard her talk, and I knew that she was pretty smart. Like I knew that she had
She is.
a little bit of wisdom out there. Master's degree in science. Her dad's a biochemist. Like they have some knowledge that I don't have. So I ran over to her house and I picked up this little bottle of this. Basically, it's an immune modulator, and I brought it home and I gave it to my dog. And in about 3 days, she was like up and down, and she's bounding. Like, oh, what are you guys like? Come on, let's get this going. Like, I want to go for a walk. When
Nice.
before we were like coaxing her out the door just to get her down to go to the washroom, like literally carrying her down for a
Now,
couple of
didn't she
days
need some
there.
surgery, or wasn't there some a mass or something? I remember you saying something about that.
Yeah. So in November of this year, she had kind of like a mass on her stomach, and she had it for a little while, but she's 11 years, 11 at that time. She was 11 years old, and she was going to be we didn't want to put her through surgery. We'd see if it was like really bothering her. We had it tested. It was uh, benign,
Yeah,
non-cancerous,
yeah.
and the vet said just leave it, because she wasn't really strong enough. And then it became really big and kind of metastasized, and so we decided that we were going to have it removed. And the vet, she was strong enough for the vet to go
Yeah.
through surgery at 11 years old, or sorry, 12 years old, because she's gonna be 13 in September. So I'm getting
Okay.
my ages wrong, but she's gonna be 13 in September.
It's okay.
Um, and so the vet said, no, she's strong enough, and she came out of it, and she healed way quicker than the vet would have expected that she would have healed at her age for a massive surgery like she did have. So I'm pretty impressed with that.
Right, right, right.
So tell me about Ruby.
Okay, so Ruby is a rescue, and you know what? I was so enamored by your story that I forgot to actually um, show people that um, this is Peaches with her great big purple tongue. So there's a
Yeah,
picture of Peaches so that everybody
black
can see
tongue.
what Peaches looks like. But about a month ago, we adopted a pot cake from St. Lucia, and this is what Ruby looked like when we got her. Um, Now, the funny story is we went to a new vet that was recommended to us. Long story there. We won't get into all the details, but um, you can probably see it in this picture. But she had been abandoned from by her mother. And when we took her to this new vet, Dr. Raj, a bit of like the dog whisperer of vets, he was, hugging her and sniffing her and all this kind of stuff, really getting a sense for the dog. And all of a sudden he looks at me and he goes, "Was this dog abandoned?" And we hadn't said anything at this point. And we said yes, because we knew the story that she had been abandoned by her mother. The whole litter had been abandoned. And they had been rescued about 3 weeks or so. So for the first few weeks of their life, for right off, they didn't get the immunity from the mother's milk. So being that I knew the story, I had already been taking this antigen infusion that I take for my own immunity, and my wife takes for hers, and I got a cool story about my wife. And I had taken it. I would taken the capsule. I would open it up. She's holding my arm down. Sorry, let me get my arm out. And I would open it. Oh, there she goes. There she goes.
Live video.
and and I would open the capsule and sprinkle it on her food. So when we got her, you can't really see it, but Ruby, come here. Come here. Come here. Darn dog. Run away when you want to show. Anyway, she had all of this rash down her belly, and she was biting herself and itching and all the kind of stuff. So I had started by taking this antigen infusion and extract, and I had mixed it with some coconut oil and put it on her belly. And then she was licking it off. So I thought, well, why don't I just sprinkle it on her food and do it in a systemic approach, right? And so when we took her to the vet, he said, "You know what, this dog is not yet," we had just gotten her really, and he said, "She is not yet strong enough for me to immunize her for the rabies shots and all that kind of stuff." He said, and I explained to him what I was already doing. He was quite intrigued. And so what I did, he said, carry on. So for another 2 weeks, we continued to do that. And you can see, if you look in this picture that I've got on the screen with Ruby that's there when we picked her up, she's got a great big belly sitting out on her. Where did she go? Sorry, if I move, I don't want to roll over top of her paws. She had a great big belly, kind of like when you see those people that are starving and they're skin and bones, but the baby's got a great big belly on them because they're malnourished and they end up with a big belly. You can see that in this picture. And 2 weeks later, I'm just going to pull that down for a second. You'll see if I can catch her. You'll see, she doesn't have the rash anymore, and she's put on 5 or 6 pounds at this point. In 2 weeks, she put on about 3 pounds. And suddenly her fur is all nice and lush, and she was always sweet, but she's really doing well from this.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. So, you're putting it on her food, but I'm actually putting it on. Sorry, people sending me all sorts of stuff on my phone. They don't understand. So, you were putting it on her food. So Peaches, I originally just kind of like would stick it down the side of her throat, like side of her mouth, and get it underneath her tongue. Yeah. And she was taking no problem. And then we got to the point that she got used to that, and she would like open up her mouth. And now she literally just takes it right from my hand.
Now, so you videotaped that the other day.
I did. I sent it to you.
I'm going to roll that here. Just keep telling the story about that.
So the little white one is this antigen infused immune modulator, and then the kind of yellowish one, she does really like that. That's a omega that's been deemed safe for animals. All of the stuff we've gone through, like talked to our veterinarian. and there's nothing in it harmful to animals. And then that last red capsule, she doesn't care for that one so much. That one I just added in, maybe like a month and a half ago or so, and when I added that in because she was like moving just a little bit slower. Like she's 13. She's gone through a lot of surgeries in her life. In our first year, we probably, I think it was about $10,000 worth of surgeries that we ended up doing on her with her hips and her knees and her eyes. Her eyes were inverted, not inverted, like the eyelids were inverted, so they're rubbing against her eyes, all that type of stuff. And so she had been through a lot, and so it was natural that her hips and stuff were going to start giving her some trouble. And then she started moving a lot better. So I will tell you that it was actually just in the last couple of days. 2 days ago. So it was, what day is it? Yeah, it was Saturday morning. I woke up probably 7:30 in the morning, and Joe was screaming for me to come out. And I come running out, and she was sitting there, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And he looked petrified. And he's like, just come here. And he laid her down on her side, and she looked like having a stroke.
Okay.
Or a seizure. So we talked I consulted with the veterinarian, and they said, she started slowly recovering, about 4 or 5 hours. The one leg wasn't working at all. It was terrifying. I'm going to tell you, it was absolutely terrifying. She's my little girl.
Right.
And so anyhow, the vet said, he kind of said, like, she's 13. He was closed, but he answered the phone. She's 13. Like, it's up to you what you want to do, but she's 13. She's had a really good life at the same time.
And you've just had a full year where you didn't expect to get another year of puppy love, right?
Yeah, no, over a year. So she's recovering, and I just kept her up with her, with what we're doing. And we're out for a walk today, and she's moving perfectly fine. And she's a little extra tired. And I think that anybody that went through something like that would be a little extra tired, but she seems to be recovering really well. And I wouldn't have expected that. So I didn't expect that to happen either, but she is a senior dog, and these things will happen.
Right.
But it's literally twice now that we thought that we were going to lose her. But I think the strength that she has from being on these supplements have really given us another course with her. And I couldn't be more blessed. That's
cool. Well, do you mind if I share for a second how I believe this stuff works and how it... and I mean, this is, a very general and simplified version of stuff, but the, it works on the communication pathways, because like the body has, your immune system's floating around. It's kind of like micro email. But if you don't get it addressed right, like just with email, if you got one letter wrong, it just doesn't get delivered to the right place. Yeah. And, you still might get the message because, Melissa might know that the message that shows up is actually meant for Sharon and might forward it. But it doesn't necessarily get there unless you have that. And the things that damage the immune system are kind of what I call the pits, right? You get poor nutrition, you get infections, you get toxins, trauma. I mean, we see this when we go on vacation. We get on an airplane to go relax, right? And then we have all that ionizing radiation that damages our immune system. And stress. I mean, like, who doesn't have stress, right? It kind of makes your immune system go blind, right? It's like, I can't see, can't hear, all that kind of stuff, right?
Shut me in a corner.
That's right. So what this antigen infusion, and they run it through an extraction process, maybe I'll talk about that later, but basically it's like a baseball game, and this baseball game starts on second base, so that you get your macrophages and your receptor sites, and they recognize foreign invaders or abnormal things. But then they send, with those arrows, they send messages. And on one side, they'll send it to, say, the T4 upregulation side of your immune system, which will then send a message, to home base, where things like the NK cells, your natural killer cells, are. Then they go out, deal with whatever your body's dealing with. Once it's done, they then send a message to the other side of your immune system. Although I should mirror here so you can see me because the screen's blocking. Um, and to downregulate the immune system. And then once they get that message, then they send the message back up to the macrophage saying, stop sending out the alarm because it's all over, right? And if any, so it needs to be able to go up, up and down at the same time and sort of modulate the immune system. And this does that. And there's a cool way that they've created this that allows you to transfer a healthy immune system from one mammal to another mammal. So
Right.
I use it myself. So you were saying you had some cool story of a friend who has a...
Yeah. So I because I have a chow chow, I'm on a chow chow site. So Stacy had made a comment about her dog Sadie not doing very well.
Right.
And Sadie's 13 years old, same thing, and she has cancer.
Oh.
And I think it's pancreatic cancer, if I'm not mistaken. So anyhow, I had messaged her and I said, I'm just putting it out there. I don't know if this is something that you'd be interested in or whatnot, but I've done something with my own dog. Not that she has cancer, and she's really responded really well to it. And I think that the cancer in itself is kind of its own beast, but a lot of the times we end up being sick from other things other than the cancer because our immune systems are so broken.
Right.
And it could help. It could help to.
So if we take care of our immune system, it can take care of us.
Basically, yeah. And so over that course of the time, she posted again. She said, "Oh no, she's doing so much better. This is amazing. This is so great." Then she posted again that Sadie wasn't having such a good day. So I messaged her and I said, "Hey, so listen, that stuff that you have, if she was getting good responses on it, you could literally like up it to a couple of times a day because there's really nothing in it. It really translates like a food.
Right.
There's nothing in it that's going to really harm her at all. She can't really overdose on it. It's not a supplement. It's not a vitamin. It's like a food." And she says, oh my gosh, that's what I've done differently. I took it out of her system, because she had gotten sick herself. And I said, well, you can take it too. Like I take it and everything else. And so she had taken it. She forgot that she should really get some more. And kind of her dog was seeing the effects of it. So then, and then a little while later, I got a picture. Well, first off, I saw a picture on Facebook of Sadie in a golf cart with, like her human dad. And then I got another picture on Facebook because she says, she tagged me in it. Says, doesn't she look great, Sharon? And I was like, yeah, this is like, and so that was like 6 months ago. So she's getting some really good quality time,
Yeah.
and quality of life, right? So we want to be clear that we want our animals to have the best quality of life as well as they're going through it. And it seems to really have helped and benefited with her. So it's really a neat thing to see.
Wow, that's great. That's a good story. I'll have one with my wife as well. We had a bit of a panic about a month ago here in the house as well. But it's an interesting story how they kind of made the observation and then created this antigen infused product. You've heard the story, haven't you? Or should I go?
Well, no, I mean, it comes from cows. I know that, but I do know that but it doesn't relate as a milk.
Yeah.
And then the FDA in California made us put it's a whey extract on the bottle, but it's not a whey extract. It's just because it comes from a cow that it's equated as a whey extract, but there's really not a lot that you can get out of like a tiny little capsule
Yeah.
of a whey product. So it's really not that either. And sometimes it's really, I don't have that science brain, like I pay attention, but I haven't been able to completely absorb it all.
Well,
so it's hard for me to explain that sometimes. How come people that are allergic to milk can still take it and whatnot? So
well, I think I got a couple points, and I think the last point might help with that. So you're right. They've made this with cows because they made this observation that the immune system gets transferred from the mother to the calf, from mom to the babies. And most of us haven't done anything for our immune system since we were toddlers, right? Um,
Right.
and so, and now, and they use cows because, as cute as mice are, they're just too small to milk, right?
Right.
And so, so what they did was while the cows were pregnant, the freshing, whatever the terminology is, they in small amounts, and these were very healthy herd of cattle as well. Grass fed, never exposed to antibiotics and all the things that we're exposing everything else to that damages a healthy immune system. So, what they would do is in very small amounts, they would expose them to things like E. coli and then some salmonella and allergens, of course.
Yeah,
We all have,
bacteria.
allergies is the big conversation these days. And then they would slowly increase the dosage, right? They would increase the dosage of those and create an immune response. So they ended up with a herd of cattle that had, have an amazing immune system. And then what they do is they take those and then they run they run the whey through a dialysis process and take away all those allergens and the proteins in the cow, those things that the people would react to, but they end up with just the programming information of a healthy immune system. Now, when my computer starts acting up, I reboot the operating system on my immune system. That's kind of
Yeah.
hard to do with a mammal, right? With your pets,
Yeah.
with ourselves, right? And generally, this is how I understand that this works, is that it then has a spreading effect on the immune system and reestablishes that communication that I talked about, those receptor sites. So we get some cool results that, we're not treating diseases of any kind. We're just trying to take good care of our immune system so our immune system can take care of us.
Right.
Now, I mentioned that we had a great story with Helen. So Helen, my wife,
Yeah.
she had a bit of a panic about a month ago. She basically was informed that she had some blepharitis happening with her eyes. So that's like blockages of the tear ducts and stuff. And some people lose their eyelashes and stuff. So we had tried some of the prescribed route. It wasn't working. And Sherry, a friend of ours, I think you know Sherry,
Yeah.
she has some challenges with her eye. And I was talking with her about it to see if that was the condition she had, which turns out is different. But she said, well, try this antigen-infused extract and dissolve it in some water and try it as an eye drop, as an eye preparation, so that you get the anti-inflammatory effect of that right in the eye. So this is so cool. This is so easy to do. And see if this will show here. I don't know if you can see this on the screen here. I'm just going to, on the right side of the screen, I've got a little capsule of this, and I've got a little glass of some sterile water that I've filtered and boiled. And then I take the capsule and I put the powder right into the, oh, my camera's froze on me.
It doesn't
I
look
put
like
it-
it's frozen on my end, but the other camera.
Yeah, the other camera. Sorry, I got more than one camera going here. And then I stir that up, and I get this cool little powder
Right.
dissolved into a liquid. And just so that, if you're going to use this as an eye drop, so you don't get anything that might not dissolve completely, I got these little coffee filters for when you go camping.
Right.
And I take that and
You're like a chemist over there.
yeah. And I literally I filter that through the coffee filter. Pull that coffee filter out of that. Now anything that didn't get totally dissolved has been run through the filter. And then I've got an eyedropper. So I take the eyedropper and now I can do eye drops and
That's
get
so
that
cool.
immune modulation effect to deal with an allergic reaction in my eyes and all that kind of stuff. So, uh,
That's that's so cool. I have a oh,
and Helen's
okay,
had a
so wait,
great response with it. It's just been phenomenal. We make a fresh batch every 2 days. She's carried on with it for about a month, and it's worked out phenomenal. So,
that's really neat because I met somebody had a really bad infection in his eye, and of course you know that these things are autoimmune, and I said like, oh, try this, and it cleared up, but that would have been a lot quicker because I had thought about different ways that like, oh, how can we get it like to his eye, right? And like, can he make a paste like we did with Ange, with when she had her bad burns, you know, like, and then like so many different stories of like making this into a paste and putting it on the wound and it healing up like way quicker than it ever would have. But I never thought about doing it the way that you did it. So that's really interesting. That's a good tidbit.
yeah, there was something about a burn,
Yeah,
and you
and
used it to help
yeah,
speed up the recovery of that.
yeah, Angela. She that's my we took on a lease down at a yacht club, and there was some pressure issues. Let's put it that way with all with the equipment, and when she went to uh, anyhow, there was a light and there was a pooling of propane, and she literally went up in a ball of flames.
Oh my god!
And she had third-degree burns all over her hands. She had it on her face. Spent like a week and a half in the burn unit, and we got her on the AIE 10, and we got her on um, another good cream lotion that was recommended for burns. It's not meant for burns, but it's been discovered that, you know, like if you put that on, it'll help heal it really quickly. And although there's a lot of like, you know, trauma still from something
So,
that
so we have some off-label
drastic.
recommendations happening here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know, we end up with a lot of those, like, hey, this really works for this too, and like, but it comes like, well, we haven't tried it for that. Um, but uh, but we she ended up with just a little bit of her freckling missing. So like her scarring is absolutely minimal, and I
Mm,
couldn't be happier for that part because there is a lot of other scarring that's happened with her emotionally and whatnot. Um, but I'm
of course.
really, you know, she's made a really great recovery thus far, and physically she's made a really good recovery. So I'm really happy that for that. I feel really like honored that we're a part of this that was able to give us those tools to be able to like heal that much quicker.
Right.
Um, and then Julie, that's another one. When you're talking about the eyedropper, it made me
Yeah.
think about this situation. So, her her daughter was away at camp, and her hamster got really sick, and she thought, oh my god, she's away at camp, like this hamster can't die. The hamster was 2, so it's like an average lifespan for a hamster, you know, like they're
Right.
almost to the day, those guys. And so she said, okay, so they got exactly like you did, they got a little vial of it, mixed it in some water, and like dropped it down its throat, and the hamster lived another 8 months. She was, and then they were ready to get a dog, and she was like, well, I wasn't quite ready for this hamster to live this long, you know, because they weren't anticipating that, because hamsters only live a couple of years. But yeah, another 8 months or something, they got out of the hamster.
Wow.
So and then, you know, her dog takes, because I think of Peaches' story, like there's a lot more people that have their animals on this daily, and I think that their animals are just living a better life, and just like we are, you know, like
Right.
I take it daily because of my Crohn's, and it's that along with a couple other supplements have kept my Crohn's really in check, like really in check,
Right.
really in check, and I don't even worry about what I'm eating or where I'm going, when I used to
Right,
be
because you
concerned about
have
that quite often.
Crohn's, and you have yourself have had some scary diagnosis in the past and
I have,
radiation
yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, so my energy was really drained and whatnot. Not that this particular thing was necessarily my energy boost, But I started on some really good supplements and whatnot, and it's literally changed my life. I was drinking an extra tall can of Red Bull every single day, and that was atrocious to
Yeah.
be doing that. Don't do that, people. Don't do that. But I was so tired. I was so tired. I didn't really like coffee all that much, and coffee bothered my stomach. Not that the Red Bull didn't, but you know, it was less. It was less, right? So at that time, I was just trying to mitigate, like, my life. Like, I had to work, but I was exhausted. I would come home crying every single day because I was so tired at the idea, not because, like, I gotten through the day, I managed, but the idea of having to get up and do it again in the morning made me just so emotional. And now I don't feel like that at all. Like, I get up, I tackle the day. I have an amazing team that I'm working with. I still work a few days a week, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I couldn't recommend this stuff even more to anybody that has conditions or issues or anything like that. Not that we're claiming to cure anything.
No, you're improving the quality of people's lives.
Results.
You're improving the quality of people's lives, Sharon.
Yeah.
And that's invigorating.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Oh man, that's great.
Really amazing. So I'm really happy to hear about Ruby. That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, basically, in the beginning, she wasn't strong enough to be immunized. He said, come back in 2 weeks. We came back. He took one look at her and said, now this is a dog whose immune system is now strong enough that I can safely immunize her. And it was, I was tickled pink that we had that success. So I really wanted to share that. So,
well, thank you.
And
thank you for asking me to join.
And my pleasure. And I'm so glad you shared those stories. They're great stories. We'll have to do this again sometime soon. So, but
I would love to.
I know
I love sharing the story.
I know you had a limited time window to talk, and we could probably go on for another 4 hours if you let us go. But we'll do this again another time, and have yourself a great night.
Thank you. My dinner smells amazing.
Okay, go
Notice
eat.
I'm not cooking it. That's the way to do it, people. Okay, have a great night, Dave.
All right, cheers. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.